Welcome back to the GSL Code S. Stats played very well back there against Ro32, winning 2-1.
Yeah, really impressive play. I was just really happy with Game 3, especially just he didn't falter to the harassment. Ro32 was like starting to get into his head a little bit, but eventually he just was able to fend it off and start getting aggressive, start attacking. I really liked his blink attempts on the swarm host, just identifying exactly where they were and trying to go over there and pick those off was really cute. Very smart play.
Now we're going to have Paralyze versus Curious. Curious earlier on today, not feeling too confident.
Yeah, definitely true, and I wonder how much that's going to actually affect his mindset going into this series. You know, Curious is kind of called like the gatekeeper for a long time because he's always either in the last round of Code A or just the first round of Code S. He's always there, just so often.
Paralyze in a 9-hour arduous battle.
13 games as far as I can remember.
13 games to get to here.
Yeah.
The wild card match.
That was pretty nuts. This is the first time he's actually been in Code S, so he's got way less experience than Curious does in this tournament, but he has a lot of experience, for Pro League, for StarCraft 1 as well. This guy, we talked about a little bit earlier, his nickname is Afro Toss, but he does not have an afro today. I guess he got that permed out. Unless, in fact, the afro is permed, and he actually has straight hair.
Maybe he's gone back to his normal hair. It's possible.
Get into his opponent's head on his first day at Code S.
There you go.
When I came to the studio today, I didn't even recognize him, actually. It was pretty shocking.
Well, this guy is a solid Protoss. He is one of our newer Protosses out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you get even into the GSL Code S, you're like a legendary status. But he's against a veteran here, Curious. As you can see here, 8 times in Code S.
Yeah, that's a lot of Code S's he's been in.
It is.
He's been around since the beginning. Like you said, playing in our very first Code S's in the Wings of Liberty. He's played in GSTL a ton. He's got a ton of StarCraft II experience. He's played so many televised matches. And he's still around, He's one of those legendary players that never really fell off. Like we talked about Keen. You look at a player like Bomber, these guys have just always been around, and they don't seem like they're going anywhere anytime soon.
They're kind of like fixtures here in the GSL Code S.
Yeah.
Because we do have a lot of these guys that become champions and then disappear again, or are around for a few seasons and then go away. But Curious is somebody who's consistently been in the Code S. Not in every single one, obviously, but he's been in enough Code S's that he's a familiar face here.
Yeah, for sure. So the first map for this one is going to be Habitation Station. You could see actually fast expands to the gold from one or both of these players because it's just such a cool way to play this map. You get your mineral income up much faster that way. And we've seen Parting use this a lot recently in PvZ.
Yeah, which has been a lot of fun to watch too.
Yeah. And I really feel like this is going to go Paralyze's way today, just especially based on what Curious said earlier in that interview. Just how
well, it helps to be a veteran, but at the same time, if you're somebody who does moderately well in many Code S's, it can kind of turn into this self-fulfilling prophecy of, gosh, I seem to keep being here and not winning. How many times have I failed in this? So that might be kind of another mindset, another angle to come into him from psychologically. Well, we'll see anyways. As game number 1 here, and our second best of 3 is about to begin. Paralyze against Curious. Why did I just talk over the voice?
Well, you sounded just as good as he did.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So it's all good. You shouldn't worry. That tricked me for a second, that probe going out to make a pylon. I thought it was a proxy. I hate when that happens when I'm casting. I'm like, oh my god!
Well, the funny thing is the game floated up for longer than when it comes into a screen for us.
It makes my heart race for a second. There was a game recently where a Protoss player made 6 pylons outside of Jadong's base and just made a bunch of cannons there. I hope that we get to see that at some point in the GSL as well. See if that strategy that worked in North American tournament actually works in Korea too. Curious is sending out a pretty quick drone scout out here, and maybe he'll kind of do the same thing we saw just earlier with Ro32, where he blocks on Nexus and takes one of those gases away from his opponent.
It's possibly just wants to see exactly what his opponent's trying to do early on here. Because there's that gold base on this, there's a variety of options that Protoss has at their disposal.
Yeah.
So he's just going to back up now, getting that hatch. Now, we have seen some Zergs actually take the third base at the bottom middle here. Oh, excellent.
That was a good
More
face.
people in the studios. Yes, that was a fun face. So we have seen more Zergs lately take the not the gold base.
Yeah.
And just be comfortable with the positioning here.
I like
the base, the distance.
Yeah, I like when the Zerg takes the third that's to the bottom, the one it looks like Curious is going to take
I prefer it, actually.
It's much safer, and gold bases give you a huge boost to minerals, but as a Zerg player, you know, that sort of thing isn't as important, I feel, unless you're trying to hit a timing or try to be aggressive early on.
So with like roaches and lings and everything
Well, I mean,
like that?
if you want to be aggressive early, I feel like it's good, but otherwise, you know, a safe, solid third base that you take. That was really kind of surprising to me. Sorry,
we have that ad here now.
That tricks me. But yeah, I feel like it's long-term better to take this one much safer because you do get a few extra minerals, but in the long run, you're going to have that third base for longer because the gold base also mines out very quickly. Ooh, and he's actually just going to go straight for this as his natural, just like Parting has shown us.
Yeah. Well, I think this is safer for the Protoss to do. I feel like the Zergs have had a little bit of a harder time trying to keep the gold base up and running.
Yeah. I mean,
early on at least.
You can wall that off with gateways and structures at the top of the ramp, so it's a little bit easier for a Protoss. Curious does go double hatch before pool 2, so that may be one of the reasons why he's taking this base, because if you do that at the third that's so close to your opponent, if he sees that, he's just going to punish you for it. I kind of like the approach that we've seen from Curious here. He scouts with the drone, sees that it's gateway, so he doesn't have to worry about being cannoned, then sends his drone right away to the third base. The timing for that works out really nicely. So, pretty solid build. See what we're going to see from Paralyze here. I think he's going to go robotics tech. We see most players go down that route when they have this faster goal.
Yeah, they can secure that robotics tech usually fairly easily, getting the other additional gateways over there to wall in.
And Curious, of course, identified this for a long time now.
So Curious just getting the rest of his queens out, getting his 3 bases up and running, droning up here.
Yeah.
Protoss has added the additional probes onto the gas now. Notice that this build early on by Paralyze was a very delicately balanced build here.
Yeah, he even didn't mine from all of his gases for a little while there. This is just very difficult for Curious to actually attack because of the wall off. There's a mothership core there.
Well, Nexus Cannon causes a real problem for Zerg harass early on. It's actually, I think, one of the things that's given Protoss is a bit of an edge in the early game, right? Because before then, the Protoss had to wall off early. They had to get enough cannons up to defend. For instance, in this case, you'd have to have, if Nexus Cannon didn't exist, cannons in multiple locations, right? Yeah. To which the Zerg could try to offset the balance at one of those bases and then hit the other one instead, at least with the balance of cannons. So
right, or I mean, if you make cannons, that costs money too. The mothership core is just like a unit.
The energy, the mana, it's free.
Yeah.
So, I mean, beyond the Zerg just trying to trigger the Nexus Cannon in order to milk the energy out of the mothership core, there's not a lot that the Zerg can do, and this is one of the things that has allowed Protosses to just get these timing attacks, especially up, for instance, with the ones that we're seeing with the Immortal right now, and the gateways up very easily because they're not having to make those cannons early, or at least they're having to make much, much less.
Yeah, the mothership core is this unit that has so many different uses as well. I mean, it can time warp, it can actually fire, right? It can keep the Zerglings at bay without even using its energy, like we're going to see right now.
And it's flying too. It just makes it very, very hitty to get from anywhere else. So and that's where I think Protoss kind of, in Heart of the Swarm, have this inherent new offensive and defensive advantage, right?
Yeah.
They can push out, make you stop making drones, get defense up, and then recall. Or if they want to defend, they can, cut as many corners as they want.
Yeah. Zerg didn't get a new Super Roach that is stronger than before in the early games. So it's much more difficult. And, this has been identified now. Curious has made some spine crawlers at home. He's trying to get a lot of lings out right now. 22 of them, 7 more roaches. This is a really scary attack because he has more minerals than he normally would on 2 base because of that gold expansion. These lings somehow getting all the way up here, but there's one sentry that should be able to easily deny them.
Yep. And this timing is coming up here. Now, these attacks have been incredibly effective before. When the Warp Prism gets out here, there's not going to be a lot that the Zerg can try to really do beyond, for instance, try to shoot that down with Queens or something. Nice warp in there with the Zealot, just making sure that there's no harass here. The Warp Prism now coming up.
Yep.
And we see the Protoss has a lot of minerals. That's going to change very quickly here. I guess he's going to warp in a sentry there at the ramp.
Yeah,
This is very sexy, by the way.
He considered it, right? I mean, he's coming over here now. He's gonna.
Okay, I was going to say, he would hope you pick up a sentry and not like warp one in and then try to block the ramp.
That would be pretty crazy if Curious allowed that to happen. This lane counterattack should be shut down here again. He's going to need to use some force fields, but here we go. Force field is down. He's warping in more zealots, and while he distracts here, the rest of the Protoss army can turn around and go home. And this is
ideally would want to actually get that army away from the ramp and just keep the sentries there to block.
It was a bit of a control mistake there, actually taking some hits at his base.
He can just force field, it's all up perfectly there. Okay, so this can go on for a very long time because there's not a lot that Zerg can do. Really, I mean, he just gets another force field up. If he's timed this out right like that, there's nothing Zerg can do to get up here. Yes, the Zerg is producing out of this layer, but at the end of the day, there's just more units that he can warp in over here, especially Zealots. Look, he's got 1.3k right now in minerals.
Yeah, he can just keep warping in those Zealots. You know, his sentry control was not the best we've ever seen, but he's just going to have so many more Zealots warping in here, as you can see. Can actually lift that Immortal into the warp prism to save it.
There he goes. Beautifully done.
Wow, really nicely done. Great micro here against those roaches, and now he is finally going to get up the ramp, but the damage has been done.
He did manage to shoot down that one sentry as well. Meanwhile, the battle in the center of the map has also been a victory here for the Protoss. Yep. And look at that. I mean, he leaves with the Immortal and the Warp Prism. Nicely done. Protoss, though, very down in supply right now, 66 to 107. With Zerg, as far as supply goes, of attacking units, superior by far.
Do you feel like Paralyze could have tried to take a third base during all of this, if he could have sneaked a probe over there?
Well, for the amount of minerals he has, yes. I don't know if the way that attack actually works, that it would have been as effective.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like, well, hold that thought. Things are going to come here again. And Curious is just getting further and further ahead this way.
Yeah.
Just denying mining, completely killing so many harvesters. He's actually even going to kill the robotics, it looks like. Where's the mothership core? It's all the way over here.
All the way over there.
Yeah, he's still fighting.
Nice force fields, by the way.
Really nice army here still. He's got 3 Immortals at the back, and he's able to kill that Queen on the right side. It looks like great time warps here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that gold base is in shambles, though. So he needs to get over here and at least try to take out this third. No probes mining from here. In fact, he's probably just going to lose that gold base since he's continuing to warp in Zealots right now up here in the front. But this attack is becoming more and more effective. Now, the drone's not mining at the third base either. He is continuing to push forward here. More force fields, but I think he's pretty much dried up with energy.
Yeah, he's pretty much out of force field energy here. He's only got these Immortals to fight with no buffer.
I think Zerg just won.
I think so, too.
Because he did keep the third base. Yeah, that's going to be it. It looks like Paralyze should basically end up tapping out here. I mean, he's sending probes up here, right?
Yeah, he's finally going to, I mean, he's finally going to resecure his base. We lost so much mining time. He's lost his entire army, all of his expensive gas units, his sentries. He's lost one of his Immortals. Well, 2 of them, I guess.
Roach is now coming up here to the gold base.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough. He's going to have to type out, like you said. That's going to be game. Really solid defense here by Curious. And, you know, 2 Immortals and a Warp Prism is not going to change this game. Unfortunately for Paralyze, he's going to try.
Yeah, well, he's going to try to buy time, but, I mean, losing the third base, or I still want to call it the third base, because if it was a blue mineral map, that would be probably the third base, but losing the gold base, I mean, this is a loss here for Protoss is inevitable. So nicely done here by Curious.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to make a lot work with a little, but he's...
Oh, wow.
He can actually target the Cybernetics core down in a second. Just going to fight the sentries, it looks like, a little bit here. But this is just a band-aid solution to try to warp in sentries on top of a Protoss who's on 1 base, his ramp, against a Zerg who's on 3. He may actually get that core. It's very low.
GG. Yep.
He knows he's stuck in his main base, so if Curious has the whole map controlled, there's no way he's going to come back.
You know, a nice counterattack there by Curious up into the gold. Shutting down anything over there. You know, for the early part of that game, Paralyze was very good at keeping the gold base defended and safe. But in the end there, once he hits that, and that's one burden about trying to take that as your second base, taking the gold as your second, is that it's not connected to your main. So it's a completely isolated location that you have to be on top of.
And once the Lings got into that, there was nothing much he could do if he wanted to continue his attack. He had to make a choice